Good morning, ladies and germs. Lots of germs today, apparently. When it comes to coronavirus, let's do our daily update and talk a little bit of politics, especially this latest round of outrage. Outrage! I tell you that the head of the executive, who is the person in charge of the Department of Justice, actually might have. Oh my God! He might have said something to somebody about something related to people that actually work for him. Why? That's a reason to impeach him again, right? I mean, Oh, please. First off, Barr has said, and the people in the Department of Justice have said, when it comes to Stone, that in fact that's not what happened. Okay, now I don't know if they're telling the truth. I don't know if they're lying. I don't know any of those things. But I will say this. Can somebody tell me why it is so outrageous that all of a sudden we have a president who decided that he was going to make a statement, a public statement, about a particular circumstance which was tied to his campaign? I can't understand why that would be so outrageous. I just can't. Secondly, the idea that you want to give somebody 9 years in prison for what amounts to less than candid responses about something that wasn't a criminal act is outrageous on its face. May I point out that those people who bilk the government and get caught scamming Medicare or, whatever. When was the last time that one of them got a 9-year prison sentence? Can I ask what you actually get 9 years in prison for? That's less time than a lot of people get for child pornography in this country. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that those people should get less time for child pornography, but it points out that the grossly disparate sentence guideline request is obviously politically biased, and I would not be surprised if those so-called prosecutors did this intentionally to try to force Bill Barr's hand. In other words, they did it basically to fuck him, and he pushed back on it, and then they all quit. Oh my God, we're that independent. Excuse me, Bill Barr's your boss. You don't like him having an opinion? Well, that's just tough shit. He's entitled to have an opinion. What's wrong with that? Maybe you can tell me. We go through this kind of bullcrap on a fairly regular basis. I'm not at all sure why anybody'd be all that, wild-eyed crazed about it. We do go through it every now and then. Duh. Okay. Color me not impressed. How about if I put it that way? Color me not impressed. Okay. Yeah, I know. The Democrats' hair is on fire. Chuck Schumer. Oh my God. The world is coming to an end. Right now, the world is coming to an end. We must impeach the president again. Because he was emboldened by the previous impeachment. Well, yeah, how about if you actually found a crime first? And by the way, let me ask another question. Why is it that all of a sudden nobody wants a guy to do his damn job? Is that because we've got so many medical scams going on in this country that if the president was to actually do his job, an awful lot of those people that are bribing our Congress folk would go to prison, and they're afraid that might happen? Maybe that's the reality, huh? Yeah, maybe. All right, let's talk coronavirus. China, unfortunately, threw a monkey wrench into my data set. They have now said that all of a sudden there's 15,000 more cases than there were the day prior. As of this morning, the Chinese count stands at 59,800, which is up from 44,700 the day before. what sort of discontinuity you got out of that. Otherwise, I'm not entirely sure. There's also another case, one in the United States. Wow, man, I'm really upset about that. Um, and the petri dish situation with the cruise ship does not appear to be resolved. At least, not that I know of. I haven't gone through everything this morning trying to go get a complete update on that yet. But the problem with this sort of dislocation and basically changing your methodology is that unless you go back and adjust everything done previously, which you're not going to do because now what they're doing apparently is CTs, and if they see pneumonia on a CT, then they're calling it this virus. That's a problem because people get pneumonia for a lot of reasons, not all of it from this virus. So now we are going to report numbers that are not based upon a RNA analysis, so basically looking at whether or not there's genetic material from the virus that we can find in your system, but instead we're going to essentially do a high-res chest film, not with an X-ray, but with a CT scanner. And if we see evidence of pulmonary involvement, we're going to say, well, you must have this new virus. You want to talk about going from stupid to stupid? That's basically what we've done. The other problem is that too only catches those cases that end up in a hospital, because obviously you don't have a CT scanner at your local drugstore, nor do you have one in a phone booth that you can just walk in and have a quick CT of your lungs done, and hey, what's the story here? That's not how it works. So, but apparently they have more CT scanners than virus test kits. What am I missing here? CT scanners are fairly expensive, although these days not as expensive as it used to be. Piece of equipment. Hey, what do I know? All right. Anyway, what this means is that even though this huge jump has taken place, it doesn't tell me whether or not China is actually making any progress in getting this thing under control. And yet, as of a day or two ago, the bend in the curve strongly suggested that maybe they were. And now we're back to it's going to be another week before I have a data set that is at least somewhat consistent and I can look at and say, well, what do we got going on here? This sucks. But, this is kind of like what the Fed's done to me several times. I used to do a quarterly update on the situation with various forms of debt and how all that was shaking out in the economy as a whole. And that got upended because the Fed reclassified several things on multiple occasions. The first couple times they did it were not the end of the world. They weren't that huge of a deal for me. I was able to deal with it without a whole lot of trouble. Then they went around and they moved enough stuff that trying to back into it in such a way that didn't destroy the continuity of data that had gone back for over a decade was essentially impossible. And at that point, I gave up. Those of you that have followed my work for any length of time probably remember that quarterly Z1 update that I used to do. I had already kind of gotten the idea that maybe I should stop doing it because it, again, like the labor report, was one of my least well-circulated articles. People seem to, they just didn't care about it apparently. But I thought it was an extremely useful piece of data because it told us what was going on. Now, granted, with a several month delay, because the Z1 is behind the current quarter by quite a bit, but it gave you a pretty granular view of what was going on in regards to that, and I thought it was extremely useful data. But the continuity, like I said, the continuity was destroyed, which made for some trouble. And now we got the same thing here with this. So we stand at 59.8. We still do not have any kind of breakout in the United States anywhere. And this is very interesting and very important to keep in mind. Not only do we not have a breakout here in the United States, we still don't have one in Japan. We don't have one in Germany. We don't have one in Australia. We don't have one in France. We have 9 cases in the UK. We have 7 in Canada, and we got a handful, in a bunch of other places. 14 in the U.S. All right, folks. Let's not get our hair on fire over 14 cases. Now, the better question here, though, given the amount of dumping of people into various nations, including ours, with this virus, is why hasn't that breakout happened? And again, I keep coming back to I believe this is a sanitation issue. The data that we have still meets with this, okay, still works here, but we'll see. And again, we've got the information coming out of China, and I wonder whether what they did here with this revision is, I don't think it's an attempt to be accurate enough. I still think they're understating the number of cases, probably maybe by as much as a factor of 10, actually. But even so, if you think about it, even so, we're talking about 0.5% of the population of the country that's been infected with this thing. That's not a very big number. You got 1 billion people over there, and let's say that 600,000 of them have coronavirus, okay, or have had coronavirus, and of that 600,000, 10 or 15% are now considered recovered. All right, and of that 600,000, 2%, 3% are dead. Is my hair on fire over that sort of a number? Well, if 3% are dead, yeah, that's actually pretty bad. But it's not 3% because remember, if you're understating because people are not going to the doctor, you're probably not understating the dead the same way because it's kind of hard to not go to the undertaker. I mean, something's got to be done with a body, right? So, I mean, I know people saying, oh, the crematoriums are running full blast. BS, folks. Listen, are there more people dying than are being reported? Probably. Is it off by a factor of 10? Even if it is, and you got 10,000 dead people over there, what percentage of the population is that? Just how, put a little perspective on this. About 7,500 people die in the United States every day. Every day. So, if coronavirus has killed 13,000 in China since the data set was first reported on January 20th, we are now almost a month into it. All right. So what are we talking about here? In a nation that has a population that is 3 times ours or more, a little bit more than 3 times ours, we would expect about 23, 24, maybe 25,000 people a day to die in China every day. So is my hair on fire that over the space of almost a month, 11,000 people are dead? No. Now, is that a significant uptick in the death rate without? Yeah, it is. But folks, look, before you go head for the bunker, realize, again, 7,500 people every single day in the United States fall over dead. Now, granted, most of them are old, but then again, this virus seems to kill old people more frequently than it kills young people. A big shock, right? You're more likely to be medically compromised, yada, yada, yada. All right, so again, I'm kind of pissed off at what China did here with this redefinition because it has thrown a discontinuity into the data. We'll see what we get over the next week or so. But I still remain kind of meh on this whole thing. That doesn't mean that, you shouldn't play white man good sanitation in the United States. You damn well should, because that is probably the difference between a breakout in disease that happened there and one that could happen here. Should we keep our border slam shut? Should we avoid going to China? Should we not have cruise ships sailing into Asia? Yeah. Should we not be allowing people into the U.S. that have a higher probability of being carriers than not being carriers because of where they're from? Yes, we have the right to do this, and we should do it. Do I care if China's economy gets trashed as a consequence of this? Not a damn bit. It's their responsibility. It's not ours. And we do not have any responsibility in that regard toward them. Just keep that in mind, folks. We just don't. I know. Nobody wants to hear that, but it's the truth. Anyway, that's what I got for today, folks. On the political stuff, and for now on coronavirus. Look, I'm just still. Is this bad over in China? Yeah, it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. But again, show me a breakout somewhere else, because I don't see any evidence of it. I don't see the start of an exponential expansion anywhere else. And until I do, I'm just not going to get amped about it, because other than locking down the border, which we're doing in terms of people coming in from there, I don't know what the hell else you'd have us do. And frankly, explain the difference in transmissibility if it doesn't tie back to some sort of sanitation issue, because I don't see that either. All right, I'm your ticker guy, folks. Have a good one, and enjoy whatever the market may bring you today too. It looks like